I have bought a lot of audio products in the last year and I haven't go around to making a video on any of them. And there would be a lot of YouTube videos to make. So how about make it fun? How about we review each product in under 3 minutes in one video? Let's not waste any time, let's get into it. Now that I have a Samsung phone, and watch for that matter, it was time for me to further invest in the ecosystem and get Samsung's premium earphones. Coming from the Buds2 Pro, these are very similar in feature set. We have spatial audio with head tracking, we have case and earphone tracking via SmartThings Find, sort of seamless switching between other Samsung devices, transparency mode with speech focus, Bixby wake up, and ambient mode during phone calls. That's the feature set, but what they actually like to use? First up is the battery life, which is pretty mid, about 3.5 hours on a single charge. The case needs to be recharged every week and a half on average, similar to my Buds2 Pros, which were over a year old before I sold them. What about the audio quality? Well, it's completely different to the AirPods actually. There's a large emphasis on bass, which while not distractingly so, I really appreciate the sound profile of the AirPods, where they were extremely clear and each part of the song, the bass, mids and treble, felt relatively equal in intensity, closer to a proper hi-fi set of headphones than a pair of Beats. 360 audio is unimpressive and sounds like a fake virtualization effect from my mum's old stereo. And their tracking doesn't work on Dolby Atmos tracks, which is disappointing. The earphones don't fall out my ears at all, and they sit on top of your ear holes like AirPods, so they're not fatiguing. Transparency mode works, but like the AirPods where it sounds like you don't have them on, here, voices are a bit duller and you might need to ask someone to repeat what they're saying. But you can wear them to a shop and have a quick interaction. The earphones are also very difficult to get out of your ear without pressing on the gesture controls, and when they're off, audio doesn't automatically route to your phone speaker. But the case is small and the audio profile isn't offensive. There's still some detail amongst the bass, and the bass is tight, so I'm happy overall. But there's a lot of improvements that can be done for the next model, like the ability to have custom EQs. The whole premise behind buying this soundbar was to have Dolby Atmos support and a small footprint for my bedroom. I didn't really care for having a dedicated subwoofer, but my jaw dropped when I first heard the punch that this little guy packs. It's far bassier than the Crave soundbar I received, which had a dedicated sub. So whether you're watching a movie with explosions or listening to pop, it does give you a nice warm sound. Surround sound is done via virtualization. Don't be fooled, there are no top-firing speakers, it's just 5 speakers in a row. The spatial effect depends on your room size. In my bedroom, being closer to the speaker, the sound was much wider. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't sound like the sound is all around you, it's a very front-facing sound. But the sound felt bigger than it was, like the speakers were further apart than they really are. Now that I'm further away from the soundbar in the living room, it's harder to notice this, but there is certainly extra depth that a stereo mix doesn't give you. Background voices in TV shows are easier to hear, and likewise with instruments in Dolby Atmos tracks. The soundbar also has a microphone to adjust the spatial effect, and also doubles as a way to get your neighbors together, to knock on your door to tell you to turn it down because that calibration is loud. The whole soundbar is actually. 11 volume is enough for surround tracks and 4 for stereo. 11 is about 1/3 of the total power, by the way. There's also Google Home support, as well as AirPlay and Alexa. There's this nasty glitch where it constantly tells you that it's ready to connect on its screen and will need you to power cycle it to fix it. I won't give any recommendations as this is my first proper soundbar and there might be better options for the same price, but I'm really happy with this purchase overall. Before Philips started selling off the product divisions to the lowest bidders, they used to do some really good products in-house, and this line is one of them. The Philips wOOx speakers are special to me, as I want to own them since I first heard of them, age 14 or so. They're regular speakers, but they have a massive passive radiator above, to give you much more powerful bass than conventional speakers, in theory. This specific pair was meant to work alongside the MC70/21 micro hi-fi system, but that unit is probably long gone. The benefit of having the hi-fi unit is that they have a specific EQ to make proper use of the radiator, but with my Kenwood receiver, man, these sound great. They're really clear, while also packing a decent amount of punch at the same time. They're great for listening to CDs and records because they really extract detail out of the audio without sounding flat or lifeless. This is helped by the fact that adding bass doesn't interfere with mids, to a point, so you can have the best of both. But what if that's not enough bass for you, but you want to keep the same footprint? Take a look at these tall boys. This micro hi-fi system hides 2 dedicated subwoofers alongside 2 woofers and 2 tweeters. You can get clear sound out of these rather easily actually, and they're decent for high-res listening, but put on all the bass enhancements and suddenly you feel like you're inside an 18-year-old's Ford Fiesta. And max bass is just so hilariously excessive. But with AHB Pro, it adds a nice thump to the music without being much of a distraction. Like the Buds2 Pro actually, in terms of the sound profile. Somehow the cassette deck still works. It's a bit all over the place when I first got it, it's really lacking power, probably due to the deteriorating rubber band, but it sounds acceptable and can be controlled by the remote. Fancy. What's even fancier are the color changing modes. There is some buzzing when there's no audio playing through aux though, but man, what a beautiful 2000s machine this is, without looking overly excessive either. Actually suits this hand-me-down drawer quite well. I had owned the XM4s for around 5 months. Coming from the CH700N, I had really high hopes. The great audio quality of the 700N with multi-point Bluetooth, far better noise cancelling, transparency mode and USB-C, a pair of headphones that all the tech tubers love. This is a no-brainer. And instead, I absolutely hated them. The audio was so muddy. Yeah, the bass was pretty good for modern pop and dance, but it was just too much. And even when cranking up the high frequencies on the EQ, it just sounded so dull. And unlike the 700N, that sounded better wired than wireless, plugging in the headphone jack made no difference to the audio, and the battery life wired was abysmal compared to the month-long battery life of the 700N. And they were so tight around my ears, they were practically earmuffs, completely unusable in summer as my ears would get too warm. So for the last 2 months I owned them, I didn't use them at all, so I sold them for a better pair of headphones. And these are it. The Austrian Audio Hi X15 are a fantastic pair of headphones. My dad bought them initially for himself, and I was so impressed I really wanted to own a pair for myself. They're a little light in bass, I end up cranking it up about 15 or 20% on power amp, but the driver can keep up with the extra bass without distortion, and otherwise they are crystal clear. There is so much detail within the instrumentation, and they're a lovely pair of headphones for sit-down music listening. They're also very comfortable thanks to the padding, and I can wear these for hours with no problem. For those who have never heard of the brand, they were started by former members of the AKG microphone division. There's some contention on the internet as to whether this new brand is as good as the pre-Samsung AKG, but I'm really happy with what they put out here, and for under £100, they're an absolute steal. So that's it, that's all the speakers and headphones that I've bought in the last year, and I managed to fit under 3 minutes for all of them, which I'm very happy about. If you guys want to hear about my actual hi-fi setup that you can see down there, please let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, please hit subscribe, and I hope to see you for the next one.